My name is Jonathan. I'm an Alaskan cyanotype artist shaped by years of carrying people's stories as a family therapist. Here, I share my creative process and how these cyanotypes help me understand the blues of life. I hope you find healing in the blues. Today, I'm excited to share with you a little video snippet and then some subsequent videos of me making some cyanotype prints from a trip that I took with my wife and kids and my parents who were in town visiting of the Juneau Icefield. Here you see us, we've boarded a float plane and we're flying up and over the Juneau Icefield. Now, I almost didn't go on this because I was nervous about flying on a float plane up and over and near a lot of big, huge peaks that were standing thousands of feet above sea level. But I'm really glad I pushed myself to get out there and do it because I wouldn't have ever seen things like this incredible view that you're seeing here. And there I am, camera in hand, snapping away at everything that's there. And it's just breathtaking. It's breathtaking because it's beautiful, but also it is such a unique wonder of the world. It's enormous. The Juneau Icefields cover 1,500 square miles. It spans 2 countries, stretching across Southeast Alaska and British Columbia. It feeds more than 40 large valley glaciers and 100 small glaciers, including some of the most famous glaciers that travelers to this area will recognize, the Mendenhall and the Taku glaciers. We survived the trip, and honestly, landing in a float plane on the water was the smoothest landing I've ever experienced. Now, let's work on making some prints from these images that I shot. Here I'm trimming some 100% rag paper that's made by a specialty little maker in France that just creates this durable paper that can really hold up to the abuse that I'm going to put it through the cyanotype process. So I take these trimmed pieces of paper that are trimmed just to the size of the image I'm trying to create and the dimensions that I'm creating. And here I put on some solutions. These solutions are a combination of a variety of chemicals that, when mixed together, create a light-sensitive emulsion. Now, when you look at this, you see that I'm working in what appears to be normal light. It's a little bit deceiving because the light is really actually turned down quite low and the camera is compensating. People often ask me if I have to do this in pure darkness or in a dark room or what. And while it is a dark room, it's more like a dim room than traditional dark rooms that you might have experienced if you've ever printed black and white prints in a traditional dark room. And I coat a couple of dozen sheets of paper in each batch that I'm creating. I block off a big chunk of time so I can really get some consistent results in what I'm creating. Here, first image I'm going to print, the first of 3 that I'll share with you today. There I started with the image, it showed how I edited it, and then turned it into its negative form. I printed that off on a special inkjet negative film that I then put into this printing frame and sandwich the coated piece of paper that's now dried in the printing frame. Then I'm going to stick this printing frame into this box that I built that houses 4 very bright UV black lights. These lights were actually made to be used on stages. But I've found by concentrating the 4 of them together in this little box, I can create prints in a pretty rapid time. As you see here with the clock ticking away, minute and 15 seconds for this one. Now, this can be done in the sun, which is what the norm has been for eons in creating cyanotype prints. But that can take anywhere from 50 minutes to an hour. Here I can do it in a minute and 15 seconds through this very concentrated UV light. There we've got an exposed print. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to stick it into this bath of running water. This is one of two methods that can be used to develop cyanotype prints. For this one, I decided this was the right approach. When washing it in water, it gives a slightly different tonal scale than the second method, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. Once it's rinsed in the water for 5 minutes, I then put it in here in what I call the oxidation bath. This is just a bath of water that also has some hydrogen peroxide in it. What it does is it speeds up the oxidation process that'll naturally happen with a cyanotype. So I can measure or judge whether the exposures and printing were all accurate and to my liking. And as you can see here, here's the final cyanotype image. Let's do another one. Okay, here's another beautiful glacier shot from up on the north end of the ice fields. This glacier is called the Meade Glacier. Something I want to share with you is a quote that I heard from Stephen Sharp Nelson. If you don't know who he is, he's the cellist from the group The Piano Guys. So you've probably seen a couple of YouTube videos with him. He's also a really great public speaker, and I heard him give a podcast where he referenced creativity and some of the things that kind of motivate him. He said that it was his opinion that, quote, if we do not exercise creativity in our life, it will find its way out one way or another. Creativity that's not positively exercised becomes malignant. We start using our imagination and our creativity to make up false stories and to imagine the worst case scenario. We'll build up a grand castle-like framework around the worst thing that could possibly happen. Why? Because that's our creativity trying to get out. If we exercise it positively, our imagination and creativity will have no room to create worst case scenarios. Now, I share this because, as I referenced earlier in the video, I was a little nervous to get on that float plane. Now, living in Juneau, Alaska, I've had the opportunity to fly on a lot of small airplanes in some pretty incredible places, but this was actually my first trip on one that actually took off and landed on the water. And I'm sort of an anxious person, and it raised my anxiety to think about going on one of these little planes. And interestingly, it was just incredibly fun, and I felt pretty safe the whole time. And I think this is a good example of what Stephen Sharp Nelson is communicating with that message, that when we allow ourselves to kind of push through and use our creative minds to do something, we can get out of our own way. Instead of me being anxious and worrying, and as a result then not seeing the incredible beauty of this place, not being able to create these beautiful cyanotype images, I was able to go and see these incredible things. I was able to make something that I think is really beautiful because I was able to push through some of that anxiety and take a chance on it. And it really generated for me something beautiful. So here I'm going to use a slightly different approach in developing this third image. I made 3 copies of it, which I sometimes do. I don't always film all of the copies that I print, but in this one I did. I typically print each of my images in some sort of limited run that runs anywhere from 1 or 2 all the way up to 20 is typically the most I'll ever do of a specific image, but most end up somewhere in the neighborhood of 3, like this little batch here. Now, this first bath that this is in is an acid bath, so it's slightly acidic, made acidic primarily by vinegar, and by processing this in vinegar, it adjusts the tonal scales just a little bit when you're printing in cyanotype. And I thought that was going to really be appropriate for this image because of the real breadth of the deep, dark tones in conjunction with the bright snow. Now, printing snow is really a challenge when to not make it look like mud, but also for it to have some sort of detail. And here I started in the vinegar bath, and then I move it into the water bath and rinse it for 5 minutes before then sticking it here in the oxidation bath to make sure that the image is oxidized and I can see that they're properly printed and exposed. Now, I don't typically show it on here much either, but after this it will go into another wash bath for about another 10 minutes to make sure that all of the chemistry involved in this is fully washed out, and you're left with an archival, beautiful print. Here's the third image. There, I showed you one of each of the three. So let's see the transformations from the initial photograph without any editing, transitioning then into the beautiful final cyanotype. Here's the second one of the Meade Glacier. Starts as the black and white image, transformed into the cyanotype. And then the third, the Mendenhall Towers, perhaps the most famous peaks in the Juneau Icefield. Thanks for listening.